micromineral iron. Your body contains around 2.5 to 4 gram of iron any day. Okay, almost this is the amount of iron that the human body stores. Okay, and we consider iron as a trace mineral, micromineral, because we don't require it in large amount like how we require calcium, right? For example, calcium approximately 1000 microgram on a daily basis we require via food. That's not the amount of iron that we consume. Okay, even for pregnant women it's around 27 microgram of iron. Okay, so the amount of iron, even though it's a very important mineral, but the amount of iron that you require in your day-to-day diet, it's not too much. Okay, quantity wise, so that's why we consider it as a trace mineral, micromineral. Okay. Other trace nutrients, for example, nickel, silicon, vanadium, cobalt, zinc, they also come under microminerals because that also we require under very specific trace amount. Okay. So distribution of iron in body, the total body iron is around 3 to 5 grams. Okay. 2.5 to 4 or 3 to 5, depending on what gender you are. Men have bigger storage of iron in their body as compared to women. Women, especially if they are in the reproductive age group, they lose a lot of iron on a monthly basis because of menstruation. Okay. So, out of this 3 to 5 grams of iron that is stored in your body, 60 to 70% is found in hemoglobin. Okay, 15 to 30% is found in your liver and or also in your reticuloendothelial system. RE system means reticuloendothelial system. This is the system which produces red blood cells. Okay, your spleen, your bone marrow, blood, they all are part of the reticuloendothelial system. Even the stem cells, okay, they are also part of reticuloendothelial system. This system produces the red blood cells. Okay, so bone marrow, spleen, they all come under the reticuloendothelial system, RE system. Okay, so in the form of ferritin, iron is stored in your liver, and in the form of hemosiderin, iron is stored in your reticuloendothelial system. Okay, so 15 to 30% of iron is found there. Then in myoglobin, in your muscles, muscle protein, myoglobin, muscle protein. Okay, 4% of iron is found in myoglobin in the form of protein in muscles. Then 0.1% is found in blood plasma in the form of transferrin. Okay, 0.1% is found in the blood plasma as in the form of transferrin. Transferrin helps, is a protein. It helps your the iron that your intestine has absorbed to be transported. Okay, iron requires specific medium to be transported in the blood circulation. Okay, so transferrin, there is a form of iron which is bound to a protein, and in this form, iron can circulate in your blood plasma and get deposited wherever it is supposed to. Okay. Then coming to functions of iron, first is transport and storage of oxygen. Each gram of hemoglobin, it contains around 3.34 microgram of iron. Okay. And iron, with all its different form of proteins, we call it metalloprotein. Iron is a metal. Okay, it is associated with the protein, metalloprotein. So hemoglobin, myoglobin, okay, these all, and ferritin, transferrin, these are different types of metalloproteins. Okay, when metals, minerals, they are bound to a protein structure, we call it as metalloprotein. So myoglobin, you will find it only in muscle, and here it stores oxygen. Myoglobin can store oxygen in the muscle. So whenever, if you want to go for a quick run, if you immediately, suddenly you have to do a physical burnout, okay, you have, your muscles will have immediate surplus of oxygen. Okay. So myoglobin is responsible to store that oxygen. Hemoglobin, as we all know, hemoglobin is required so that oxygen can travel through the blood. If there was no hemoglobin, blood cannot transport oxygen. Okay. In the absence of hemoglobin, blood cannot transport oxygen. Oxygen will not reach your cells. So transport and storage of oxygen, that's an important function. Next, it is a cofactor of enzymes and other proteins. So conversion of beta carotene into any active form of vitamin A, iron is required. Beta carotene is the form of vitamin A which you get from plant sources. Okay, but your body cannot store beta carotene as it is. So body has to convert it into an active form of vitamin A so it can be stored in the liver. Okay, so iron is required for this conversion to take place. Okay, and also to synthesize purines in your body, which helps in the formation of your DNA, RNA. Okay, so purine synthesis. So for the synthesis of purines, iron is required. Synthesis of carnitin. It's a vitamin-like substance that is also required for transporting fatty acids in your body. Okay, L-carnitin, you must have heard that it helps in weight loss. Okay, metabolism, it burns fats more. Okay, so how it happens is that it breaks down the fats into smaller fatty acids and helps in transporting it rather than storing it. Okay, so for carnitine to be synthesized in your body, iron is required. To synthesize collagen, okay, that is one of the proteins in the body. To synthesize collagen, it is required. Then detoxification of drugs and other toxic components that your liver on a daily basis uh, undertakes the role of detoxifying your body. Okay, your intestine as well, to help that function for the liver and intestine. Iron is required to make neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. These are your happy hormones. Okay, if your body is not able to synthesize these neurotransmitters, usually you will be pushed into a state of depression. Okay. So synthesis of these neurotransmitters require iron as well. Formation of red blood cells, as I mentioned, not just iron, but also the presence of vitamin B12, folic acid, iron, vitamin C, copper. Okay, these all vitamins and minerals together are required for the formation of your red blood cells. Okay, it's a long process, formation of red blood cell. So you can see here, these are the stem cells. They are latent in your body. And whenever it is required, new cells has to be produced. Stem cells, they convert themselves into whatever cells they are supposed to be. There are different types of stem cells, okay? Like hemocystoblast will always convert into erythrocyte. Erythrocyte is red blood cells, okay? So there are different stages, steps, okay? And finally you get the red blood cells. So for this synthesis and for this development of an erythroblast is immature red blood cells, okay? For the immature red blood cells to mature and develop into a functional red blood cell, iron is required. So this is the genesis of red blood cell. Bone marrow will produce a lot of this immature red blood cells. We call it as erythroblast. Erythroblast will only mature in your bone marrow. They take up iron for the synthesis and to develop into a mature erythroblast alongside vitamin B6 and copper. Okay. So these vitamins and minerals are also required for the synthesis of erythrocyte. And once the iron that has been synthesized, that attaches itself to the protein heme, attaches itself to the protein globin, it becomes hemoglobin. Okay. And that's how a complete hemoglobin molecule is formed. And there is a cell that can take this hemoglobin, that can carry this hemoglobin, and that cell is your red blood cells. Okay. So hemoglobin containing cells, we call it as reticulocytes or red blood cells. They are also released from the bone marrow. Okay. So this heme binding the iron to the globin and also producing the cell that can carry this metalloprotein hemoglobin. Okay. Throughout the blood circulation. That is also provided by bone marrow. And once the reticulocyte is released into the blood, you can see here, it had a nucleus, but it has to shed its nucleus. Okay, it has to be denucleated. So only erythrocyte or red blood cells is a cell that does not have nucleus. White blood cells has nucleus. Okay. Erythrocyte does not have nucleus. White blood cells have nucleus. Okay. So this enucleation also takes place. Enucleation also takes place in the bone marrow, where the nucleus is shed. Where the nucleus is shed by the red blood cells, and finally the cell without the nucleus is released into the bloodstream. It has to be in your blood. The immature erythrocyte, reticulocyte, has to be in the blood for 24 to 48 hours. Only then it can mature. Okay, only then it is capable to function as a proper erythrocyte or red blood cells. Immediately, if today a erythrocyte is released from your bone marrow, it is not capable to carry oxygen and do the function of a red blood cell. It has to be in circulation, it has to be exposed to the blood plasma for 1 to 2 days, and then it can be ready to function as a mature erythrocyte. Okay, so this is the formation of red blood cells. Is it clear to all? Coming to the absorption of iron. Absorption of iron is a tricky part. Okay, it requires some specific conditions in your stomach, in your intestine, for iron to be absorbed. Okay, so dietary iron, it enters your body in two forms, heme form and the non-heme form. Okay, heme form of iron, it comes from animal sources and it is very easily absorbed by your intestine. Okay, iron from animal products. Okay, you eat meat or animal based products, it is much more easier for your intestine to absorb that. Okay, and non-heme iron, that comes from the plant-based sources, green leafy vegetables and all iron-rich food, all plant-based sources that are iron-rich. Okay, that represents non-heme iron. Okay, that is little bit tricky for your intestine to absorb. So the ferrous iron, you can see here, Fe3 plus is ferrous. Okay, the ferrous iron, when it enters your intestine, it becomes ferritin. Okay, it is combined with a protein. It combines with apoferritin, that's a protein, to form ferritin. Okay, because in the form of ferritin, it can be transported. It can be in the intestine and it can leave the intestine, not in the ferrous form. Okay, the free form, ferrous form is the free form of iron that came from the food. Okay, in the intestine, it will combine with apoferritin to form ferritin. Okay, and ferritin, it is kind of a iron store as well. It will not immediately leave your intestine. It is kind of an iron store in your intestinal cells as well. And ferritin, it even though it has some iron, it still acts as a ferry, like a transporter for iron. Okay, as soon as new iron touches the or brushes the borders of your intestine, okay, especially heme iron. Heme iron touches the borders of your intestine. The ferritin, like a ferry, it will pick it up. It will pick more iron molecules from the lumen, intestinal lumen, as soon as it brushes the intestinal cells. Okay, so that's the function of ferritin. It stores iron and it also picks up new iron, okay, towards itself. And once there are enough amount of iron in the intestine, the ferritin will leave the intestine. It will enter the blood circulation. Okay, through ferroportin, it will enter the blood circulation in the form, and it will get attached to transferrin. Transferrin is another protein, metalloprotein. Okay, so with the help of transferrin, all the iron that ferritin has caught, it is released into the blood with the help of transferrin, and transferrin will will move the iron from one point to another, usually towards the liver where iron is stored, and also towards your muscles where iron is stored in the form of myoglobin. And some of the iron will go to your spleen as well, where or from the spleen. Spleen also collects iron from worn out red blood cells, RBCs that have become old and damaged. Okay, they are destroyed in the spleen. Old damaged RBCs, red blood cells, are destroyed in the spleen. But spleen will not completely destroy the RBC. It will make sure it takes up the iron molecules that are there in the red blood cells, and the remaining part is thrown out. Okay, so from the spleen also ferritin supply is there. From the spleen also iron supply is there, which will enter into the blood circulation. That is how iron absorption takes place. In an acidic pH, it is much more easy to absorb iron, especially in the presence of vitamin C. When you eat something that is iron rich along with vitamin C, ascorbic acid, it will convert the ferric iron into ferrous form of iron, which can easily get absorbed from the intestine. So the more acidic the lumen is, your intestines are, if the environment, the pH is low, the environment is acidic, iron gets absorbed easily. The metabolism of iron through the feces, you lose around 11 mg of iron on a regular basis. Okay, through your excreta. In women, menstrual loss of iron is around 28 microgram of iron every period. Okay, every period or every month, if it is regular, if your periods are regular, every month, women are losing around 28 mg of iron. Then desquamation. Now in winters, everyone must be facing this dry skin. Okay, the white skin that flakes away, the skin flakes, skin peeling and skin flakes that happens. To that also you're losing iron. About 1 mg of iron is lost. That is desquamation. Okay. So these are the metabolism of iron, how the iron is lost from the body. Since iron is a very important micromineral, your body cannot afford to lose all of its iron stores, like in through feces, desquamation, and all. And if you're a woman, through menstrual losses, your body cannot afford to continuously lose iron. So there is an inbuilt system in your body that maintains the balance of iron. Okay. So first is reutilization from the catabolized red cells. Red blood cells, as I mentioned, they go to the spleen, the old worn out red blood cells. They enter the spleen through blood circulation, and the iron, even though it is a red blood cell, it's an old red blood cell, it will still have hemoglobin. Okay. And if there is hemoglobin, there is iron, because heme is iron, hemoglobin. Heme is iron. Okay. So the old red blood cells, when they reach the spleen will reutilize, store, take and store the heme part of the hemoglobin, and the remaining part, the protein and the remainder of the cells are catabolized, destroyed. Okay, so that's one way of creating the iron balance. And there is an upper limit cessation in absorption. When your body knows you have enough iron stores, you don't need any further, it will not absorb anymore. Okay, your intestine will not absorb anymore when it knows that you have enough ferritin levels, your transferrin levels are normal, your ferritin levels are normal, the iron stores in your body are normal. Okay, then your intestine will no longer keep absorbing iron. Then ferritin. So again, ferritin is a protein that stores iron in your intestine. Okay, it also picks up more iron. It stores iron and it picks up more iron from the food. So it can store and release iron as and when required. It will store iron when it knows that the iron sources from the food are very low. It will start storing iron. It will release iron when we know that the body has lost a lot of iron. Ferritin will start to release some of the stored iron. So that's how balance is maintained. So far, is it clear to all? Coming to the different two types of iron, heme and non-heme iron. Heme iron, as I mentioned, it is easily absorbed. Even in the natural form, heme-based iron is easily absorbed. It is more bioavailable. Okay. Non-heme iron, it has to be converted into absorbable form of iron, and then it can be stored and absorbed in the body. So if you are dependent on iron tablets, usually the non-heme iron tablets come in this form: ferrous fumarate, ferrous sulfate, ferrous gluconate, etc. Then heme iron is easy on stomach. It does not give you constipation, acid refluxes. Non-heme iron supplements have some side effects like constipation. You can take it with or without food. Okay, non-heme iron, you cannot take it on empty stomach. And heme iron, it is not affected by stomach acid, but non-heme iron, it requires acidic environment, requires vitamin C, antacids, etc. Will block the absorption, because when you are having an antacid, you're diluting down the acidity of the stomach or intestine. So in that situation, iron absorption will go down. The natural non-GMO genetically modified organisms, they are also the sources of heme-based iron. Synthetic iron salts are available, like ferrous sulfate, ferrous gluconate. These are the pharmacological brands that are available, synthetic iron salts for consumption. And absorption of heme iron is inhibited, like calcium can be a barrier for iron absorption, especially when calcium content in the food that you eat in a meal is more than around 300 mg. If whatever you're eating has more than 300 mg of calcium, it will interfere with iron absorption. Okay. But when it comes to non-heme iron, more than calcium, there are other elements as well that can interfere with iron absorption. Like again, calcium, just more than 150 mg of calcium, if it is there in a food, it can hinder the iron absorption. Milk, coffee, tea, wine, chocolate, cheese bar, tea, green leafy vegetables, which has a lot of calcium, eggs, nuts, yogurt, etc. They can block the absorption of non-heme iron. So enhanced absorption factor, how can you improve the iron absorption? Increase acidity. Always combine your iron rich sources of food with something that is acidic in nature, like some citrus fruit, okay, fruits, vegetables or fruits, salad dressings that are acidic in nature, okay, that can enhance the iron absorption. Then use animal tissue protein, okay, like milk is not a tissue protein. Animal tissue protein are meat, okay, organ meat, they all comes under animal tissue protein. So they are a really good sources of iron. Meat, fish, poultry, they all come under animal tissue protein. Then body's requirements. For example, when a woman is pregnant, heme iron is animal source iron. Heme iron is animal source iron. If you're having salads that have vinegar dressing, okay, that can also make the food acidic. Vitamin C, especially. Vinegar does not have vitamin C. Vinegar is acidic in nature, but more than acidity, the vitamin C factor is important. Then you have the body's need, as I mentioned. Whenever your body needs to make more red blood cells, let's say you lost a lot of blood, you had heavy menstruation, or you had an accident, you lost a lot of blood, your body knows that it has to make a lot of red blood cells. Automatically, your systems will open up for more iron absorption. Okay, when a woman is pregnant, okay, the body knows that iron stores has to go up because more red blood cells has to be made, blood volume will increase, more red blood cells has to be made to keep up with the red blood volume. Okay, so in all these situations, automatically the systems, the iron absorption rate will shoot up from the intestine. Okay. Then lactoferrin and lactoalbumin, which is present in breast milk. Okay. The human milk does not have much iron, but it has lactoferrin, lactoalbumin. These proteins are present in the milk, in the human breast milk, which helps in the absorption of iron. When the child is on weaning diet, okay, when the child is on weaning diet and the child is being breastfed and the weaning diet has been introduced, so weaning diet will have iron, the breast milk will have lactoferrin, lactalbumin. Okay, so these will enhance the iron absorption in the child's body. Then calcium, adequate amount of calcium can help remove some phosphate kind of agents and phytate kind of agents. Okay, because calcium will link up with phytates and cause lead to calcium phytate, calcium phosphate. Okay, and this precipitate will be formed with calcium. So iron is bad. There is no calcium for ferrous phosphate or ferrous phytate being formed. When calcium comes in and gets attached to the phytates and phosphates, iron is free to be absorbed by the intestine. Okay, so a little bit of calcium does help. Inhibiting absorption, what are the areas that reduces the iron absorption? Low gastric acidity, if you are on a lot of antacids, you have a lot of acidity and you are taking medications to calm down your acidity, iron absorption actually goes down because your gastric environment is not acidic enough. Increased gastric motility, if you have too much of fiber rich food, too much of fiber rich food can lead to increased gastric motility without not just iron absorption, all the other minerals and vitamin absorption will not take place. Then phytates and oxalates, if your diet has a lot of phytates and oxalates, which are present in a lot of green leafy vegetables, whole grains, bran, okay, these will form some precipitate with the iron, and this precipitate cannot be dissolved. They have to leave your body as it is. So iron in the form of precipitate will leave your body instead of getting absorbed. Too much of phytates and oxalates in your diet. Then you have polyphenols. They are organic compounds which are present in coffee, tea, cocoa, okay, like all caffeinated drinks. We have polyphenol. It inhibits the absorption of iron. Then certain minerals like too much of calcium, cobalt, zinc in the diet, especially calcium if it is more than 150 mg when you're having plant-based iron. Calcium if it is more than 300 mg when you're having animal-based iron. Okay, it will inhibit the absorption of iron. Fight for absorption usually. Calcium will fight iron for absorption. Then infection, when the body is in a state of infection, absorption rate goes down. Iron absorption also decreases. Then non-tissue proteins are a major part of your diet, like milk, cheese, eggs. Okay, these are not tissue proteins. These are non-tissue proteins of the diet. Okay, so that could lead to inhibition in the iron absorption. Overload of iron could lead to hemochromatosis of liver, which would lead to liver cirrhosis, scarring of the liver. Okay, iron toxicity. Another form of overload of iron is this, in which uh, the sidereal anemia is also another form of overload of iron. Siderosis, usually very common in people who drink beer which is brewed in iron containers, or people who eat drink they use iron based cast iron based utensils for all their culinary needs. That is not the right way. Okay, Then coming to RDA, iron-rich food. Pregnant women, 27 microgram is required on a daily basis. Lactating women, 23. Women naturally have higher intake of requirement of iron as compared to men. Men just need 19 to 20 microgram of iron on a daily basis. Then anemia in detail, we will learn about anemia in another class. Okay, nutritional anemia. And also we have a Wednesday session for anemia. So in that, in detail, we will discuss about anemia. Here they have only just given brief of anemia. The causes of iron deficiency anemia will discuss. Um, why does anemia take place? Based on different age groups. Okay, during your teenage, you have a higher requirement of an iron, but you don't eat enough food. That leads to anemia. And in young teenagers, if they have heavy menstruation and the menstruation starts for young girls, from that time onwards, a risk of anemia increases. Pregnancy and lactation, your requirement is quite high, but your diet is not able to keep up with the requirements. And even in cancer, okay, in cancer, there is internal bleeding and all, okay, that is taking place. So losing a lot of blood, but the food is not able to keep up with the requirement. Then insufficient intake, like if you have a vegan diet or a very limited diet, crash diet, that like you will only have liquid diet. Okay, for 7 days a week, you will be on drinks or just juices or smoothies or soup, something like that. And if you're malnourished, okay, you are definitely going to suffer from anemia. And decreased absorption because the pH of your intestine and stomach is quite high. Maybe you're overusing antacids, okay? That increases the pH of your stomach and intestine. So, and absorption goes down. If you have done some gastric surgery, a part uh, of your stomach has been removed, okay? So that much part will not secrete hydrochloric acid. Okay. So in that absence, automatically the gastric pH goes high and iron absorption will not take place. Vitamin C deficiencies as well will lead to iron deficiency. Clinical findings that we have seen in people who suffer from anemia, immunocompetence, they fall sick very often. They are very prone to infections, diminished work performance even in school and even at workplace. Okay, they are not as an efficient student or an employee. Anemic people, cognitive development in children is affected because uh, RBC is supposed to help with oxygenation of your tissues and cells. If you don't have enough iron, you don't have enough RBC, and if you don't get enough oxygenation for your brain to think properly, to develop properly. Okay. Then behavioral implications. Children who are anemic are easily triggered. They get angry, agitated very quickly, and they have the depression spouts as well. Okay. Then structure and function of the skin and their epithelial tissue. Skin becomes very pale, lack of luster and color and glow in the skin. Okay, that is there. Koilonokia is their spoon-shaped nails because of the absence of iron. And this is a diagnosis, laboratory results, not important, but we can see uh, where the normal range should be. Treatment, ferrous sulfate administration free of cost is done through in government schools, government sectors, and through the primary healthcare centers, sub centers, secondary healthcare centers, community medical centers. Okay, from there, ferrous sulfate, that is iron sulfate tablets, are distributed. 50 to 200 mg is the range. 50 mg for young kids, 200 mg and all for pregnant women, lactating women. Okay. So under prevention strategy, we have a lot of national health programs, ICDS programs, okay, Anganwadi programs, etc., to enhance the dietary improvement of iron, fortifying different food with iron. Now we have double fortified salt and all, okay, which comes with fortified with iodine and iron. A lot of atas that you get, okay, atas and a lot of packaged food items that is available do come fortified with iron. So that is a dietary improvement. And pushing more green leafy vegetables, encouraging people to grow some green leafy vegetables at their home. Okay, even if they're living in flats and all, having small uh, plantations for greens, daily greens you should get from your kitchen garden. Okay, so these strategies do help. Supplementation is always a backup plan for people who cannot reach their iron goals through food. Supplementation can help. Fortification, as I mentioned, double fortified, even oils, atas, milk, plant-based milk, salt. Okay, these all are getting masalas. Okay, garam masalas, different spices, they are getting fortified with iron. This is an example of a double fortified iron of Tata salt, which comes in red color packet. Okay, that is an iron fortified salt. Then health education, young mothers, teenage pregnancies, pregnant women. Okay, they are the target population where you can teach them how important iron rich food is. Okay, in case of deficiency, what could happen? Okay, so that kind of education from school. In schools also, you must have learned about iron, anemia. If you try to remember the classes of 7th standard, 8th standard and all, you have learned about a deficiency of iron. It leads to anemia. Okay, symptoms of it, how to manage it. Everyone had this segment in their syllabus. Okay, that was a part of the government strategy to impart the importance of anemia and the importance of iron into the syllabus, the structural educational system. Okay, so that's about today's session. If you have any queries, you can mention in the chat box.